You too are a lovely being. Be free, you can spread your wings. You too can do anything your heart desires. Thank you, lovely being, for joining me in the self-rediscovery. New episodes weekly. You too are a lovely being.
So this week I wanted to share my lesson, a big lesson that I learned last week, and just a life lesson. So I'm like, it's gonna apply to this week as well. Gotta practice, practice, and then the lessons will be completed. They will be learned. So a big lesson that I learned last week was that you have to value your gifts for what they are in order to take yourself seriously, and then other people will also see that and then they will take you seriously. So I learned this because I'm an artist, and I was commissioned for a painting, this beautiful portrait I made for my sister, and I tried mailing her painting several times, almost like every day last week. I took it out of the house to take to UPS to go mail to her. And every time I brought it back because something would happen, either like a little bit of paint would get smudged, I have to touch it up. I ended up making like several touch ups and like really having to sit with it until I'm like, okay, this is the quality that not only she deserves, but also that I am able to provide and I'm able to give because of my gift and my craft and, my skill set. And I kept bringing the painting back, and I'm like, why? Why does it keep ending up back in the house and me making all these edits? And like, at first I thought it was just me being hard on myself and I'm critiquing it too hard. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm looking at this painting and I'm seeing all the quote unquote flaws in it before I give it, because I know I'm giving it to somebody and they're going to pay me for it. And I ask for a certain amount of money unless it looks perfect. But then I had just a realization. I'm like, no, you have to value the artwork. I had to value that painting and really look at it and value it because I created it out of love for my sister because she asked me to make it, in light of her beauty and all that she's done for me in my life and my love for her. But I was reading a book that I finished earlier last week, I believe, if not like last Sunday, called "You Are a Bad ASS." I don't curse, so I didn't want to say the word, but it's "You Are a Bad ASS" by Jen Sincero. And great book. It's a super bright yellow book, easy to spot if you're ever at Barnes and Noble or the library. I would 10 out of 10 recommend, like, great book. But in this book, it challenged me to think about how I value the things that I create, which was like my whole lesson last week. I keep bringing this painting back. I'm like, why do I still have this painting? I was supposed to send it to her. I was like trying to rush the whole process, and I'm like, for what? There's no rushing here. You can't rush creativity. You can't rush, making something beautiful. You should take your time. And even when I like messaged my sister, and she literally responded and was like, take your time. Like, there's no rush. I know it's going to be beautiful, so take your time. So I took my time, and I want my art, my creations to be recognizable and for people to know that I made them. So when they look at something that I made, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's a Kalia painting. That takes time though. And you also have to value your creations in order to get to the point where you can like do that with them. I feel like, which I feel like is one of the biggest lessons that I learned last week. And now that I'm listening to myself and I'm playing it back, and I'm like, wow, look at that. I'm present enough at this point in my life to catch things like that. Like, why me feeling frustrated by my painting getting messed up. That's how I was looking at it. I'm like, every time I take this painting out of the house, it's being messed up. And I have to take it back and I have to fix it. And I was just like, it took only like 2 days for me to figure out, okay, well, I'm supposed to be learning something here. Maybe I should just like take my time and fix it, and then it still ended up back in the house until I finally was like, okay, I need to listen to myself, but also to my partner. He was telling me, he was like, you should probably like, wrap it up, like you go get some wrapping paper or something so that way the paint doesn't get smudged, because it kept getting smudged by like, it was a whole thing. I was like, I really need to get it together. So thank God that, I'm still enough to be like, okay, this is a lesson. What am I supposed to be learning here? And then I have people around me, like my partner and my lovey, to help me when I'm getting in my own way at times, which is something that I've been affirming. I don't want to get in my own way. I affirm myself every day when I wake up that I will step out of my own way today, and I will seize all the opportunities that are meant for me. I'm not going to block any blessings, because there's an infinite amount of potential for your life to be as great as you want it to be. And I believe that with every fiber in my being. So in light of that belief, I'm like, okay, I really can do anything I set my heart to do. So like selling my first painting, this is going to be the first painting that I intentionally created because I was going to sell it to somebody in expectation that they would actually give me the money that I want for creating it. Because I tried to sell a painting before, and the person that I was going to sell it to like flaked. I told them the painting was finished, and then they just like never contacted me again, didn't send me any money. I ended up keeping the painting, and I was able to, it's in my home now, so I get to look at that painting, and it reminds me like, okay, again, you should take your time and also be upfront about what it is that you expect from your artwork, and also value. I did not value that painting, the first painting, like that I'm talking about from way back when, the person that didn't pay me for it. I didn't value that painting, and that's why I didn't get any money for it. Like God was like, you didn't even appreciate this enough to really value it enough to place a monetary number on it and then give it to another person in exchange for that money. So that's why I still have it, and I've kept it. And now its value, I've learned its value, and its value is to be in the home studio I have, and for us to look at it and be like, yeah, this is where we are. We're Chicago, a very creative place, an abundant place, so many people here. Chicago is very interesting. Growing up in the South and now living up here, I'm like, well, it's a whole other way of life. Really, where you are born is like, it's like the number where you are born and what you are born into, I feel like are the catalyst for life. It's like the environment within the environment, and the people come with that environment too. So living in the southern region, and then now living up here, being a little bit older. Let me circle back to the lessons and how my lessons have been blessing me, and I've just been really like grateful, being in a state of gratefulness, even for things that seem small, but like in the grand scheme of things, not all the small things make big things. So the small stuff is important too. So I'm grateful for like everything. I started this practice like last year where I would just say thank you for all day. I would just say thank you. Even I was spending a lot of time by myself, but like if I came across other people or I was doing things for myself, I would say thank you out loud to get myself used to being grateful for things in a intentional way, and not just like passively like, oh, well, of course I'm grateful for this, I don't have to say it. But like, no, sometimes you do have to say it so that it really settles. And that all comes back to like me being grateful for my creativity and the fact that I can paint a painting for somebody else because they described to me what they would like a portrait, black and white portrait. That's all I had to work with. And I just took those three things and created something for her that I knew she would like, but also that, like I said, was in really just my sister's so beautiful, so I'm like, I want to paint something as beautiful as my sister. She can look at it and feel like the beautiful, strong woman that she is. And I wish that for anyone who looks at that portrait and, makes you feel like uplifted. that's what I want to do with all the art that I create. I want to uplift people. And yeah, because everybody is great. That's another lesson I've learned recently that I really resonated with, that we are all great in our own individual ways, but even more so collectively when we just, instead of focusing on, okay, well, yes, this person is different from me, but okay, in light of that difference, how can in light of difference, you can learn something from somebody. You can learn something through that difference. And then that creates a commonality, because now you have like, oh, somebody has gifted you with a lesson, which a lot of lessons are blessings as well. And it's just like this beautiful, it's a nice, like, I look at it like a cyclical process, like a nice circle. And I love circles and spheres and spirals and stuff like that. So when I apply that figure, like figuratively, to my life, then things feel really cool. And I can take like meeting a stranger at the grocery store and having a brief conversation with them and realize like, oh, I needed to hear what this person was saying because it was important, or it'll apply to me helping somebody else in the future with something else. Like, oh yeah, I talked to somebody today, and I don't know. It's like the little things. The little things are the big things. On that thought of valuing and just being grateful, something else I've realized recently is that God puts people into your life for a reason. I've oftentimes felt like stuck, especially like when I was early on in college. I'd say I would find myself feeling stuck, not knowing like who am I really, at the root of being Kalia. I was surrounded by so many different types of people, realizing that now that all the people that I've come across have been for a purpose. But now I've really I've seen it, and I've like realized it in my heart, like this is so true. And then you're also put into people's lives for a reason. So like realizing those two things has really hit harder for me, because now I'm looking at the people who have come into my life differently, even the people who aren't in my life anymore. Like the whole lessons being a blessing thing. Some things are just blessings. Some things will be a lesson and a blessing at the same time, because you learned, which means you've gotten something from it, And sometimes it's like pain. There could be pain, and then that pain has to be transmuted and turned into something else, and you can use that to like grow and be the type of person that you want to be. All of that to say, value your greatness. Value your life. Value your individuality. Value you. Because at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and all throughout the day, you are the only you that there is, and you are the only you that there will be. Start valuing yourself now, and y'all gonna see, because there's a lot of greatness to be believed, and there's a lot of greatness to be had. As always, love and sunshine, peace, lovely being.